Fear is the key. Why am I bringing it up today? I'm bringing it up because people have kept asking, how do we get the West to deal with Islam? How do we wake up people to what's happening with Islam? And that word's been going through my mind. Fear. Fear is the key. Bill Warner, about 15 years ago, wrote the excellent Fact Persuasion. That's persuading through facts. Right now, the facts are so available. There are so many, many, many facts out there about Islam. The content of the Quran, Islamic history, etc. Okay, it's done a lot, but, you know, when the Charlie Hebdo massacre happened, millions of French people marched, okay, and then what were they doing very soon? Oh, flowers and teddy bears. Did they connect what had happening with Islam? No. No, or hardly at all. Over and over, in one Islamic slaughter after another, or slaughter by an Islamic yelling Allahu Akbar, we have had teddy bears and flowers, as opposed to people reciting passages from the Quran, which would explain why somebody yelling Allahu Akbar was detonating themselves and killing as many non-Islamics as possible. So how does fear come in there? Obviously, someone detonates themselves and their body parts all around. It's very, very scary. But why aren't people saying, I'm scared of Islam? Because consciously they are not. They are sympathetic to Islamics. Oh, poor them. That's a very common response in the West. So, for example, there are women in Sweden who have spoken out saying if they are raped by an Islamic incomer, they do not want charges pressed by someone else, and they definitely don't intend to press them. In other words, somehow or other, their safety, their well-being does not count. Okay, so again, I come back to, how is fear the key? Well, I wrote my doctoral thesis on something called the man-fear factor. And it looked at how fear of male violence was an underpinning of male dominance. In other words, both men and women are afraid of male violence. Men, very often, consciously, to women. If they're nice men, to the women they want to protect and keep safe, or to all women. If they're nasty men, they know that, they can use this fear to their benefit. Men would be afraid of men, the violence that could come at them, or the denigration of them, etc. Well, what about expanding that? Instead of looking at fear of men in terms of male dominance, looking at fear as an underpinning of any system of people acquiescing to dominance. Bill Warner, who's a Fact Persuasion I've already mentioned, also gave a presentation which has now gotten close to 4 million views, Why We Are Afraid. And it looks at Islamic history. It did stuff like wipe out all the Buddhists in India, 10 million, led to the Sikh religion in India, as the Hindu religion was not warlike enough to stop the slaughter. So how is fear the key here? And then, more importantly, what do we do? I think it's very frightening to recognize there's a massive force against you. I know as I started writing a little bit and putting tiny little things online and speaking a bit to classes about the content of Islam, or that didn't make sense, the massive protest against some cartoons, while at the same time, same year as the cartoon protest happened, 10,000 Islamics were murdered by Islamics in one city, Baghdad. Zero protests, just 10,000 dead bodies. But this little cartoon in this far-off country. But why did the West not stand up? That's the question. And there I think I would come to fear. fear can be unconscious. And I'm going to come to something else. Recently into my inbox, I got something on trauma and what happens when there's trauma very early on, or it can be generations back. And it leads to something being frozen, an inappropriate response, people not living full lives. What do we do with all this? I don't right now know, but I am saying we have to look at an underlying fear of Islam, Islamic doctrine, Islamics, etc., as an underpinning. There are many other things. Most of us know about infiltration. Most of us know about political correctness. Most of us know about so many things. But I believe that to undo what is happening, we are going to have to look at, explore, and deal with the fear. They say nothing moves until somebody does something. I think a very helpful thing in getting anyone politically correct to acknowledge any of the fear is getting them to take a first step and say something against Islam. And then they may get an inkling of their fear. There's somebody called Sonia Johnson who was a Mormon, and became a heretic. Well, in her book, From Housewife to Heretic, she wrote about this terror she had to go through, this incredible terror. And her belief was that as anyone moves out of a traditional role, like housewife in a Mormon household, to away from that, they have to go through the fear layer that has kept them in place. I know that I felt such a fear layer as I was getting my PhD. I was finishing writing it, and all of a sudden I had nightmares each and every night. Now you might say, okay, well you were dealing with man fear, small wonder you had nightmares. But I didn't have them at the beginning, and I didn't have them during the research. I had them exactly as I was reaching success. Exactly as I was getting ready to do my final revisions and hand it in. So what were they doing then, those fears, those nightmares? I think there was a fear layer there. I was going further than any member of my family had gone. Fear was natural. I think the West has got to acknowledge its fear, which we're not supposed to be able to do because that's a sign of Islamophobia. I mean, my God, how could we be afraid of Islam? It's dreadful. My, those poor victims. And how could we acknowledge that we're afraid? Well, I think it would make sense that we do. But anyway, that's today's thought. Fear is the answer why we are on the suicidal course. Suicide, the numbness of going on and pretending we're safe, is a lot easier for most people than facing what is happening and facing the fear that is at the core of things, the fear of these people that one doesn't stand up to the force. One says things like, but I know a nice Muslim. Well, yes, so we had better deal with fear. Fear is the key.